again, and welcome to my cellar again. Well, I saw today the D&D movie's now out, available on DVD. Guess I'll have to snatch that up too. Thanks for another great video. We appreciate you updating on your channel the status of D20. Word now, as of today, is it being released this week, so there'll be dungeons to delve in very soon. By God, I hope so. We've been hung up on getting this paper out of customs, and of course that's just half the battle. Then we got to get the print, and then we got to get the register for the cutter. But we can't do anything without the paper. So, God, I hope we get that out of there. I don't know what contraband was in the container, but I hope they hang the person up by their thumbs and beat them into privates. Okay, thanks for the observations about my club. I'm guessing this is the school club. The more was mostly referring to spell and ability cards, which we got funded, and have been very useful for newbies and keep the game paced well by having the reference info at hand. Okay, I have no reference stuff, especially when you're teaching newbies. I have no problem with whatsoever. I believe it's a good, strong tool to help new players worry more about the role playing and not about the mechanics and the logistics at first. And then the rest of that comes with time. We also get some of the dungeon tiles for mapping. We let in and out as the party advances. So there is fog of war naturally, and the student DMs describe the scene based on how the party describes their advancing into the unknown space. More also included notebooks lined and blank page and plenty of pencils. We definitely emphasize the use of the imagination, collaboration, and creative problem solving. Yes, you're doing it right. The best part is most of them never played, so there's no asking if this or that can be done under some rule or another. They just do things, and we resolve if it worked or not based on the circumstances, and maybe a simple check to the most obvious statistic or relevant skill. In my opinion, that is the ideal way to do it. Just try it. Roll me a D20. I'll be talking more about a group later tonight that I've been playing with for a while, and they know, okay, roll the D20, they roll it, they tell me what they got, and then I tell them why they did it. And it makes for a fun, meshed game that moves along quickly. I do have a student DM, though, who nearly TPK'd the whole party on his first session being the sole DM. I might have to call him TK Jr. Well, it wasn't. There are not all TPKs are accidental. One of the dangers in being a new DM is not succumbing to that fact, that knowledge that not all are accidental or intentional, for that matter. That just happens. The painting of miniatures has been a no-brainer hit with the students. Better yet, we do sessions every other day, so there's always at least one group not actively playing. So that is their miniature painting time. It's amazing to hear the ideas they come up with from these ordinary little plastic critters for monsters, as well as player characters or NPCs. We're putting some of their ideas into the RPG Superstar Monster Contest currently happening. Pardon me. With dice, well, we use them to entice new members. Students receive a pair of club dice after they've made a character and setting for their first session. A lot of them brought their own or borrowed them from their cool uncle. I think that's great. I mean, let's face it, all of us that play RPGs, we end up with a dice habit. We accumulate them. Might as well get the little babies, get them going right now. Get them started right. That way they'll know to buy the next size tote for their dice, not the one they were thinking about, because that hoard is only going to grow. All right. They're really open to other game systems, too. We had a Pathfinder day today, and we played a few turns. The PF2 beginner box. Most of these students are younger, so my secret long-term goal is to have them playing Dungeon Crawl Classics in a couple of years. Wish me luck. Well, yeah, I mean, Dungeon Crawl Classics is just a wonderful introduction to the whole field of RPGs. And in fact, the Crawl Classics, both of them, Mutant and Dungeon, have very much that old school vibe. Don't get too fond of that character. You may not have him too long. And oh, hell yes, anything is possible. Give it a shot. And they even have the luck factor in theirs figured in as a part of their mechanics, which I think is a brilliant idea. Hope my trip to Florida wasn't rained out. No, it wasn't. I'll tell you about it more after we're done here. You perfectly explained how I feel about being in airports. Like being in a feedlot where you're prodded along and you can't see around the bend, so you just keep walking. Yes. I used to enjoy flying quite a lot. I really didn't mind the first couple of years of TSA going on about what they're doing. Though I have always wondered, there is a country in the Middle East that you would not be reprimanded for thinking they would be a perfect target for this type of terroristic behavior, who's never ever had a hijacking or a bombing and does not have you go through these things. And the degradation and the humiliation and the dehumanization that you have to do to go through this. And that would be Israel. They have people that walk around and they just pick out the ones that they know are up to something. And they bring them in for questioning. That's all. Don't arrest them or anything. Just, all right. Now how many of them they actually catch, I don't know. But I think it's interesting with the death struggle that they're locked in with so many of the Muslim extremists that you'd think they'd be a natural target. But they're not. I didn't mind at first, probably because I was younger. It wasn't as much of a hassle to take off my belt and empty my pockets and take out my wallet and take off my watch and my shoes and all that stuff. And that's probably why I didn't find it so undignified then. Now I do. I'm really angry that they can't make some sort of allowance. I mean, come on, let's face it. TSA and everybody else has got every goddamn one of us in their database. That's why they look at your driver's license. They got them all. Well, if they got all my records, they know that I'm 74-year-old, honorably discharged veteran with no criminal record whatsoever. I'd just say, hi, I'm here. Okay, goodbye. Yes, sir. I don't fit any profile for doing anything except being pissed off and being a grump. Well, okay, I am that. But I'm not going to blow anybody up because of it. I do not like the dehumanization. They really got us at the last time. About the feeling you're in a feedlot. We're striding over from the desk where we put our check bag, looked back there, oh man, that looks pretty good. I only see a few people. They got a whole nother area where it's all fenced off in that feedlot. Walk you through there, I'm just waiting for him with the bolt gun at the end to hit me between the eyes. There was, oh my God, there must have been 150 people we didn't see in line. At least, possibly more. Now, we flew Allegiant. I hope never to have to fly Allegiant again. Allegiant, the airline to the slums. Both airports. a Legion has the same setup. All the way down the end of one of the terminals is the area that's got like 6 or 7 of them around, all scattered around little itty bitty gates, because they all go off in a radius. And you walk down there, and the place is always mobbed because they got 7 gates crammed into the area of 3 anywhere else in the terminal. And of course, there's never enough seats. So everybody's standing around with their paper bags, their plastic bags, their luggage, their carry-on bags. And of course, carry-on bags, what a joke that is. And there aren't even any consistent rules from airline to airline. They just charge you whatever they think they can gouge you for. Oh, God, yes, I love to fly. I really used to. Hell, I was in naval aviation for 4 years. Do I have any strong opinions on using the 3-point alignment axis as something other than designated character morality and influence their roleplay? Yeah, I do. At my open table, all starting characters have to be lawful or neutral, and I designated lawful as being roughly in favor and aligned with the generic ruling empire, which has small perks in game when dealing with authority. Okay, you're using the jurisprudence definition of law. If you go all the way back, that really wasn't what they meant. That really wasn't what it meant. If you go back to that old Dragon magazine article that showed the axis system that Gary had done up, that's not what lawful meant. But I digress. I'll come back to that. Which is, okay, if a player decides their dude is neutral, then there is potential down the road, if I get the right vibes from the player, for me to pull the player aside after a game and give them a black spot letter with an offer threat from the generic forces of chaos. This allows them to permanently convert their alignment to chaotic, bars them from bringing the characters on expeditions with other lawful characters, and gives them a new goal like getting a magic item to hand over to an agent of chaos or rebuilding an evil altar without really explaining why. Some of my players are stoked for this, and I think it gives another incentive for multiple parties in the game to compete against each other in indirect ways. Alarm bells just went off right there. Parties competing against each other. It also lets a few of the players indulge in some shady dealings without making the whole campaign about being ham-handedly evil and scummy. Alright, first off, only way that you can set it up in your campaign is the way that you feel it should be and the way you want it to run. However, let's go back to the original definitions of lawful, chaotic, and evil. Lawful meant that, not that you were a deputy dog running around with a badge on your chest. It meant that you would react the same given similar circumstances. You could be I need a little throat oil. You would be expected to react, or the monster that you're meeting, the monster being anything that isn't a player character or an NPC. Lawful meant that you would react in similar fashion given similar circumstances time and time again. You were predictable, if you will. And that really, in the beginning, there was law and chaos, and then neutral kind of worked its way into the development of the game. But there was these two poles: lawful, where things are orderly and there are consequences as well as rewards; chaos, where it was every man for himself and devil take the hindmost. Chaotic individual. It was elves are chaotic. Most of the Fae are chaotic because they will not always react in the same way, even given the same circumstances. That's what lawful and that's what chaotic meant. When we were writing the supplements, that was the way we held it in our minds. Lawful, followed norms, had standard procedures, could be expected to react in a similar way. Chaotic, who knew what? How? ADHD, unable to hold a behavioral pattern for very long. Ooh, shiny. Okay, and easily distracted. Neutral. A neutral always acted in their own self-interest. Not a higher code that they chose to follow. Not a self-interest, devil take the hindmost attitude if they were evil. But they would always act in their own self-interest. It's very hard to play a true neutral character. Very hard. Because if you are truly neutral, I'm sure in any given adventure, somebody in the party suggests something that you really don't see any reason for. You don't see any gain from it, only loss. A perfectly valid way to live. I don't mix groups anymore. There was a time when I was running convention games with pre-gens that I used alignments, and I realized what a horrible mistake that was. And oh, my cat just knocked something over there. God only knows what it was. You probably heard it. No, totally blew my train of thought. Neutrals. Pardon me. That just came out of nowhere. Running a neutral campaign is like herding cats, because if everyone acts only in their own self-interest, then you tend to see groups breaking down, arguing about why they do or don't want to do a given action. I don't. The only time that I would pay, if I were campaigning, probably the main time that I would pay attention is if a player is aligned to a socio-religious alignment of lawful good. Then you can use alignment as a stick to dissuade players from doing certain actions. Like the time I had a player playing a paladin who'd never played anything but an evil character in his life. I had to point out that he couldn't poke the eyeballs out of those little things trying to find out where their grown-ups were. And had he just gone ahead and done it, of course, that would have been a huge alignment in a campaign. And had he been a cleric or a magic user, he would have been in a world of hurt because things just wouldn't work right for him. And if he was a fighter type, then I'd probably be applying minuses or adding, telling him, well, normally you need to roll a 11 or better. Oh, you got to roll a 15 or better. Making life harder because he's not following the dictates of his chosen alignment. Now, again, alignment isn't a religion, but it can be. Alignments can embrace or proscribe different religions, and I'm not just talking about Methodist and Presbyterian, but we're talking a fantasy game here, so you can make up your own gods, use any of the existing pantheons, whatever. I certainly wouldn't allow chaotic players or even evil players into a regular gaming group without finding them out. Let's get back to the basics here. We meet at each other's houses or at neutral sites to have fun. We're generally all at least acquaintances, if not friends. And as a DM, I don't like the idea of allowing the threat of discord ruin the vibe for the night or damage friendships amongst the group. So in my opinion, it's better to keep the really evil out and let them be the bad guys. Or if you're going to flip it on a coin, okay, you can all be evil and keep the really good guys out. Okay, that would get rid of the paladins, but you get my drift here. Let's see. Where are we going to next? Oh. Do I agree with the resurrection rule in D&D? I personally think it negates the element of rest to characters, therefore is detrimental to gameplay. Okay. Number one, you got to find, and again, remember here that this is predicated on starting out at level 1 and working your way up, and the struggle to make higher levels. Because, it's not a straight progression. If you need X number of points to go to second, well, then you need X plus Y to go to third. When it's been used, and what I know of its use in some of the classic old campaigns, up in Lake Geneva, in the TSR campaigns, and Gary's campaigns, resurrection was extremely hard to find. Hard to find someone that could do it, and harder yet to scratch up the cash to get it done. Now, when I say scratch up the cash, we're not necessarily talking about a flat-out payment. Not if you wanted good results, predictably good results. But in terms of spell components, things that have to be, crushing up 10 150 gold piece pearls into a powder, finding other stuff. Gary made it, and it was intended to be very, very expensive. The level of cleric, I think there's a 5th level clerical spell, if I remember correctly. So the level of cleric is not somebody that's going to be out running around adventuring. You make it to that level, you're going to set up a temple, or you're going to become the prior of an order or whatever, and you're going to live the good life, well deserved from all the good adventuring you did to get to that point. But you're not going to go out there, and you're just not going to find somebody that's capable of doing that. It always had to be, and this is the way I would play it now, a special temple where a sect or a cult is devoted to resurrection or whatever. Not just anything you can walk down the street and find your local quack that can do it. Therefore, under that premise, it certainly does not, in my opinion, take out any of the danger of being an adventurer. Yeah, okay. you can be resurrected. Well, it's hard to give numbers here because of scale, but in my economies, you can get a really nice meal for a couple of silvers. You can get a room and board for the night for 7 or 8. Okay, so in that economy, it's going to cost 75,000 gold to resurrect you. Who's got that kind of cash? Knights of the Dinner Table runs with that theme, and supposedly the Knights have a resurrection fund that is, they kick in at every haul. Every time they make a haul, they kick in part of the haul to the resurrection fund, so that when it becomes necessary, there is money there to do it. It costs a lot of money. So anything that expensive, I really don't see it removing that much of the hazard of adventuring, because that's like you or me saying, oh, well, I'm not worried, I'll continue to do this whatever activity, I'll continue smoking, I don't give a shit, I'll just get a new heart. Doesn't work that way. Well, getting resurrected didn't work that way. The part I don't like is how many levels per year or years per level. You know, I don't like the idea of, bringing up 190-year-old dead people and resurrecting them from the ashes. But, if the corpse is no more than a few weeks old, I don't have a problem there. On a related note, have you ever had players who amorously acted like Conan, Fafford the Mouser, or even Little Richard or Mick Jagger during in-game downtime? Ever had them learn the results of these dalliances? The later Fritz stories where the duo wound up having Harlands who turned out to be the adult children comes to mind. I don't have enough experience in campaigning over a long enough period of time. From my own experience, I've related before. I've known of a couple of engagements that have broken off, long-term relationships that have broken off because of things that happen in-game having an effect on the out-of-game person. But no, I don't have knowledge of that. How powerful is the watch in Dungeons & Dragons Waterdeep? Has anyone had played as the watch during a campaign? I have no idea, as I have no knowledge whatsoever of Dungeons & Dragons Waterdeep. I don't believe that's real old school, was it? Okay, my trip. We talked about the trip. More praise for Legions. We were 1 hour late leaving Cincinnati, and we were 1.5 hours late leaving Fort Lauderdale. How people expect to be able to make connections with that kind of slipshod timing, and weather had nothing to do with either instance. Amazing that, we should get a refund or a partial refund for being late, because we bought a ticket that was supposed to take us at noon from Cincinnati and put us in Dallas at 3 p.m. But it'd be 2 p.m. there because of the hour. But the point is, at point A at a certain time to take you to point B and get there at a certain time. And if there's not weather problems, and you just haven't staffed it right, you don't have enough planes that day, well, tough shit. Give me back some of my money for my inconvenience. Well, haven't seen anybody suspicious lurking around out by your mailbox, have you? Is it the Pinkertons? Now, I don't pretend to know all the story, all the details of the story about someone mistakenly. From what I gather, somebody at the Wizards screwed up and mispacked a box. And they had some new product in there that wasn't supposed to. So, right off the bat, Wizard made a mistake. They shipped the product to a distributor. Distributor, oh, who wants this? Being a distributor, he sells it. Guy buys it and goes, wow, look at what I got. And shows it. Granted, that's probably a boiled down version. Then, from what I understand, Hasbro got a bug up their ass and sent the Pinkertons. Well, was it really the Pinkerton agency, or was it people that were hired by the guy who used to be a Pinkerton? In either case, it shows an astonishing and an appalling lack of smarts on the part of Hasbro and Wizards to do this in such a heavy-handed, highly visible manner. How goddamn stupid are you there, Hasbro? Do you not realize who you were dealing with gamers? Anybody that takes a survey of anything nearly approaching our education level, our overall smarts, etc., has got to know that you ain't going to pull anything over on us. You're not going to hide anything for very long. To be so blatant, so heavy-handed in this, instead of sending a registered letter that says, or a telegram, something that gets her today or right away. We regret to inform you, you have product that's not supposed to be out, and we would very much like to recover that product, as yada 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 yada. Because I can't see it. The guy's got it. It's anything. I don't see where he's at fault. Hasbro fucked up and put something in the wrong box. Distributor got it and sold product. If there was a secondary fault, it would be the distributor going, what the hell, I never saw this on an invoice or a catalog, realizing he's got something wrong or something out of the ordinary. Certainly not the dude that bought it. Hey, look what I bought. Cool. He's innocent. I'd be willing to bet the package didn't have, do not sell before a certain, bullshit. So once again, Hasbro has no finesse, no panache. They're just going to go in mud boots and welding gloves and push people around when finesse and delicacy is what's needed. If you want to recover the product, you have every right to try. I'm not sure of any legal code that says you can go seize a product that got sold by mistake early. I could be wrong. Not a legal expert, but it sounds like a load of bullshit. I don't know, maybe it's the same thing that if you don't know that if something is not the property of the person that sold it to you, they get to take it away from you. Okay. But I don't think you send thugs to collect it, do you? I don't know. It just seems like Hasbro has reeled out about 4 foot of sensitive bits and trodden upon them with golf shoes once again. Way to go, Hasbro. What are you going for a negative 19 charisma here? I'm already thinking you got a 2 for smarts and a 1 for wisdom. Anyway, and I'll end on a positive note. I got to play with the 7 Winds again, the gaming group on Okinawa. And it was the 5th time we've played together. And my God, we have had fun. Lo, these many games. We had fun. We had fun again this time. The gentleman that is kind of the figurehead for the group and that made a post on the Okinawa D&Ders that describes what I do pretty well, and that is I challenge the players, not the character. And I think that's why people enjoy playing in the Wheel of Blame so much. And that's just about all I got to talk about. It's now Cinco de Mayo. You won't see this till Cinco Sexto. Cinco. Oh yeah. Okay. Siesta Mayo. Anyway, you won't see this till the 6th. And we're planning to go out and have some margaritas and some good Mexican food at this little place we've been going to for about, 32, 35 years. A long time. And going to go celebrate a holiday that's celebrated tens of times more here in this country than it is where it actually happened in Mexico. That's America. We always look for a good reason to have a party. And we'll usurp your reason. Dodata Gobi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when the rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree,
High as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.